AutomationEdge is building delightful workplace experiences. You can quickly map your business or IT processes to AutomationEdge workflows with its innumerable pre-built actions or steps. Hi, I'm Seema from AutomationEdge Professional Services. In this video, I will display the Excel Writer step to write to Microsoft Excel files. Let us begin. First, let us have a look at the details of the Microsoft Excel Writer step. The Microsoft Excel Writer is a step in the output category for Process Studio workflows. It writes incoming rows to a Microsoft Excel file. It supports both the XLS and xlsx file formats. It can write to multiple files by splitting rows. You can include the date and time in the file name. Let us continue. You need to provide the sheet to write to in the file specified. You can set security for the spreadsheet in the Microsoft Excel output file. You can use template files and sheets to create files. You can further customize the format of the spreadsheet. You can specify the fields that are written to the Excel files. We just saw some of the properties of the Excel Writer step. Now let us go to the AutomationEdge Process Studio to see the Excel Writer configuration options in details. I'm in Process Studio. I have created a blank workflow Excel Writer. Let me drag and drop the Microsoft Excel Writer step on the canvas. Let me double-click the step to see the configuration properties. Now we need to write to an Excel output file. Hence we need some incoming rows in the workflow. So for now, let me cancel it and create some input steps and provide a contextual demo workflow before I explain each of the configuration options. I have created a workflow. Let me describe the steps in the workflow. The first step is a Microsoft Excel input step. It reads an Excel file containing employee information. Let me show you the contents in the Excel file. It contains employee information such as employee ID, name, country, city, department, present days, leaves, basic salary, allowance, and IT percentage. The next is a calculator step. It calculates the gross salary, income tax, and the net salary. Then I have two Microsoft Excel Writer steps to write to two sheets of the same Excel file. And I have a blocking step before the second Excel Writer step to block all the rows passing to the Excel Writer step 2 until it has finished writing to the Excel Writer step 1 sheet. Let me start with the Microsoft Excel Writer step configurations. Let me double click on the first step to open the configuration properties. The first is the step name. Provide a descriptive step name as you would like it to appear on the canvas and in the workspace. It has to be unique in a workflow. You can also write a step abbreviation followed by a description. So let me write output file for employee salary. Below there are two tabs, the file and the sheet tab and the content tab. Let us start with the file and sheet tab. The first is the file section. In the file name, specify the name and location of the Excel file in which you wish to write the incoming rows from the Process Studio workflow. You can also specify variables or parameters in this field. There is no need to include the file extension. I wish to store the file in the current workflow directory. Hence, let me select the parameter internal entry current directory, and my file name is employee salary. The extension is a 3-letter file extension to append to the file name. Choose from XLS or xlsx from the drop-down list. The .xls files use a binary format better suited for simple content, while the .xlsx files use the OpenXML format, which works better with templates since it can better preserve charts and miscellaneous objects. I will also show you how to configure templates in this video, and I wish to generate charts also, so let me choose the xlsx format. Stream xlsx data. Check this option when writing to large xlsx files. It internally uses a streaming API and is able to write to large files without any memory restrictions. In my case, for the demo purposes, I don't have a very large data set, so let me leave it unchecked. Split every n number of data rows. You can specify a positive number to create a new output file after every n data rows. For example, if you wish to split the file after every 200 data rows, you can enter 200 in this field, and the files will be automatically numbered. For now, I do not wish to split the data into files, so let me leave it to the default, that is 0. The next, include step NR in file name. This feature is currently unavailable. The next is include date in file name. Select this option to append the system date to the file name in the year, month, day format. For now, let me clear it as I do not wish to append any date. The next is include time in file name. Select this option to append the system time to the file name in hour, minute, second format. For now, let me clear it as I do not wish to append the time. You can also use the specified date time format. Select this option to append the system date time to the file name. You can also select the date time format from the list. When you select the specified date time format, the earlier two options of include date and include time in file name are disabled. For now, let me leave it unchecked. You can click on the show file names button to display the list of files that will be generated. So in my case, it is only one file. However, if I had chosen the option to split data rows, then it would show me multiple files. So let me close it. If the output file exists, you have two options in the drop-down list. You can replace the existing file with the new output file, or you can use the existing file to continue writing. In my case, let me leave it to replace with new output file. The next option is wait for first row before creating file. Checking this option makes the step create the file only after it has seen a row. And if it is disabled, the output file is always created, regardless of whether rows are actually written to the file. For now, I will leave it to the default, that is unchecked. Add file names to result. Check to have the file names added to the result file names. And the files will also be visible in the AutomationEdge portal requests menu for download. So let me leave it checked as I wish to see the file names in the output. So this was the file panel to configure the file properties. The next is the sheet panel to configure the sheet properties. The first field is the sheet name. Provide a sheet name for the step to write the rows to. In my case, I wish to create a sheet country salary. The next option is make this the active sheet. If checked, the Excel file by default will open on the above sheet. Let us leave it checked. If sheet exists in output file, you can select an option from the list. You can choose to replace with a new sheet, or you can write to existing sheet. In my case, let me replace with new sheet. The XLS file format allows you to protect an entire sheet from changes. If checked, you need to provide the username and password below. Finally, let us go to the template section. The Microsoft Excel Writer step gives you an option to use a template when creating new files. Please make sure that the template file is of the same type as the output file. Both must be XLS or xlsx respectively. Although the xlsx format is usually a good choice when working with template files, as it is more likely to preserve charts and other miscellaneous objects in the output. The first, use template when creating new files. Select the checkbox if you want to specify Microsoft Excel template to create the output file. When you check it, the template file name field is active. Enter the template file name you want to use, or click the browse button and navigate for the template file. Use template when creating new sheets. Select this option to specify a template sheet for use in creating the output sheet. If you select the option, you must also specify the name of the template sheet below. Else you can clear the use template option. Enter the template sheet name, hide template sheet. Select this option to hide the template sheet from users, or leave it unchecked to show the template sheet to users who open the output file. We will come back to the template later. For now, let us uncheck the template option. We have completed the File and Sheet tab. Let us now go to the Content tab. The first configuration field is Start Writing at Cell. This is the cell to start writing to in Excel. By default, it is A1, that is, it starts writing at the top left corner. The next option is when writing rows. You can select from the drop-down list. And the first option is overwrite existing cells, or select the second option, shift existing cells down, to shift existing cells down and append new rows at the top of the sheet. Let me leave the default option. If checked, The first line written will contain the field names. Decide whether you want to use the first row as the header row in the output spreadsheet. I wish to write the header row and hence I will leave it checked. The next is write footer. Select to use the last row of cells as the footer row names for the output spreadsheet, or clear it to keep the last row as it is. The next is auto size columns. If checked, the step tries to automatically size the columns to fit their content. Clear this option to have columns maintain their width. The next is force formula recalculation. If checked, the step tries to make sure all formula fields in the output file are recalculated. Since the underlying Apache POI library does not support the full set of Excel formulas yet, this may give errors. The step will throw errors if it cannot recalculate the formulas. If you click on Force Formula Recalculation, it enables the Ignore Formula Evaluation error. If checked, the step evaluates the formula entered by the user, and even if the formula is incorrect, the error is ignored. Note that the output file displays the whole formula as a value if there is an error in the formula. For now, let me leave the Force Formula Recalculation unchecked. Leave styles of existing cells unchanged. If checked, it will leave the style of the existing cells it is writing to. This is useful when writing to pre-styled template sheets. Clear this option to override the style of existing cells. Let's move further when writing to existing sheet. The first is start writing at the end of the sheet, that is appending lines. Select this option if you want the step to append rows after the last defined row in the spreadsheet. Else clear this option if you want the step to overwrite existing defined rows. Offset by n number of rows. Any non-zero number will cause the step to move the n number of rows down or up if you provide a negative number before writing rows. Negative numbers may be useful if you need to append to a sheet but still preserve a pre-styled footer. Begin by writing n number of empty lines. Specify any positive number to cause the step to leave the number of rows empty. When writing to a sheet, you may decide to write a few empty lines first. This option is useful if you want to append a few rows to an existing sheet, but offset them to see the bounds of each generated block of rows. Omit header. Select this option to omit the header, or clear this option to include the header. Omitting header is useful if you want to generate new files with a header, but you do not want to repeat the header in subsequent runs when you append to the same file. Let us move forward to the fields table. In the name, select a field from the drop-down list that you wish to write in the Excel output file. You can select the fields one by one to get the list of fields you wish to write, or you can click the Get Fields button to fetch all the fields at once. You can now drop the extra fields. For example, I wish to drop present days, leaves, basic salary allowances, IT percentage, as well as city and department. So I wish to retain these 6 fields, and it shows the type by default. You can change the type from the drop-down list. You can select a format from the list as applicable to the data type. Style from cell. Provide a cell address such as A1, A2, A3, B2, B3, etc. to copy the styling from for this column, usually from a pre-styled cell in a template. Field title. If set, it is used for the header or footer instead of the Process Studio name in the first column. Next is header footer style from cell. Provide a cell to copy the styling from for headers or footers. It is usually a pre-styled cell in a template. Field contains formula. You can set the value to yes or no from the drop-down list. Set to yes if the field contains an Excel formula. My field does not contain a formula, so let me leave it to no. The next field is hyperlink. In this column, you can provide target links. The supported target links include links to other cells, URLs, FTPs, email addresses, and links to local documents. Cell comment for xlsx files. The xlsx format allows putting comments on cells. If you would like to generate comments, you may specify fields holding the comment for the given column. Cell comment author for xlsx files. The xlsx format files allow you to put comment on cells. If you would like to generate comments, you may specify fields for holding the author for the given column. As already discussed, click Get Fields to get all the fields at once, and click Minimal Width to set the output to non-padded width to fit their content. So we have completed all the configurations in the File and Sheet tab and Content tab. Let me click OK. Now let me go to the second Microsoft Excel Writer step. Double click to open the configurations. You can provide a descriptive step name. So let me provide output file, employee salary by city. I want to write to the same file as in the earlier Microsoft Excel Writer step. So I've copied the file name from the earlier step, and it is an xlsx file, and we'll leave the other fields as it is. You can check the file name. Now if the output file exists, this time I want to use the existing file for writing, and in the sheet name this time I want to write to a new sheet. So in the first Excel Writer step we had a country salary. Now let me add city salary, and I will leave the make this active sheet unchecked, as my country salary will be the active sheet. And if the sheet exists in the output file, I will leave it to the default, replace with the new sheet. As far as template is concerned, we will come back to it later. Now in the Content tab, we will start writing at the top corner, and we will leave the others to default. We will write the header, and in the Fields tab, I can select the fields one by one. Let me click Get Fields to get all the fields, and this time I want to retain the employee ID, name, city, gross salary, income tax and net salary, and I will leave the other fields unchanged. I will click OK. Let us save the workflow. Now we are ready to run the workflow, so let us run it. The workflow is complete. You can preview the data. Let us open the Excel file. So in the workflow directory, I can see a file employee salary, and as you can see, it has created a country salary sheet with the country and the salary information, and it has created a city salary with the employee information, city and the salary. Now let us talk about template. We can use the output file to easily create a template file. Now let me do all the formatting I need on this file. I have colored the header, added an underline, and resized the columns. Similarly, for city salary, I have formatted the header, resized the columns, and done a right alignment for the salary fields. Now I want to add a sheet after the country salary. Let me call it country summary. In this sheet, I wish to insert a pivot chart and pivot table. Let me select a table or range, that is all the columns, and I want to create the chart in the existing sheet, that is country summary. Click OK. Now in the pivot chart, I wish to select country and the net salary. I will move the net salary as the value, and I can click on the table, right click, and I want to summarize values by sum. And in the pivot table options, in the data tab, I want to refresh the data when opening the file. So click OK. Similarly, I want to add a city summary sheet. Similarly, I have created the pivot chart for the city summary. Now I can delete the data. You can refresh the sheets. I want to delete the city data as well, and I will refresh the city summary sheet. Now let me save it as a template. Let me close this file. Now I'm in Process Studio. Let us make the changes to the steps so that it uses the template for writing. The first Excel Writer step, in the sheet section, we already have a country salary sheet in our template. So let me choose Write to Existing Sheet. And in the template section, we want to use a template. Let us browse for the template. Let us select the template, and I will parameterize it as it is in the current workflow directory. And I want to use the template when creating new sheets, and I want to use the country salary sheet. Let us go to the Content tab. Now in the Content tab, for Start Writing at Cell, let us change it to A2. Since in the first row we already have the header, let us uncheck the right header and leave styles of existing cells unchanged in the template. Click OK. Now let us go to the second Excel Writer. We wish to use the existing file for writing. Our sheet name is City Salary, and we wish to write to the existing sheet. We want to use a template. Our template is in the current workflow directory. So let me use the template path. And we wish to use the template for creating sheets as well. And the template sheet is City Salary. We do not want to hide the other template sheets as we have the pivot charts there. Now in the Content tab, for the Start Writing At cell, let us put A2, since on the first row we already have the header in the template. And Write Header, let us uncheck it. And Leave Styles of Existing Cells Unchanged, let us check this option. Click OK. Now let us execute the workflow again. You can preview the data. Let me show you the output Excel file. I have opened the employee salary output file. The first sheet is the country salary. The next is country summary, and you can see the pivot table and chart. The next is city salary. Again, the header is coming from the template, and the city summary, pivot table and chart also coming from the template. Let us recap. We saw the Microsoft Excel Writer step, description, and configuration options. You can jumpstart your digital transformation journey with AutomationEdge's conversational AI and hyperautomation platforms.